Emma Lenny Benny Onile Loco. Esiku Dede Asiku yi. Hello everyone, it's Adirunke again. I hope your day is going well. Today, I'd like to talk about the word Kadara and what it means in and of itself. As far as I can go, Kadara is not a Yoruba word. It has Arabic roots and it's one of the several words that have Arabic origins in our vocabulary. And it's important to address them before they confuse the next generation. My generation is already confused about a lot of things because of these unnecessarily loaned words, and there are so many theories, and you have lies being told to fit particular narratives. Omoluabi is Omotinuabi, and you have all this, we came from Medina and we came from Mecca, and just because we had a group of foreigners that came and taught the language, taught the religion, we are very welcoming to outsiders. At no point do we oppose outside knowledge. We've always been very free thinking people, but then when you introduce religions and systems that discourage people from being open-minded, then you start to have issues. But that's a different topic. I don't want to go on a tangent. Kádàrá has this Arabic root and it's from these major letters. There are several words that look like this. Sometimes what looks like the R in English wouldn't be there, and then you have some vowels in between. It's the consonants that matter. Typically, when you have words like that, they denote concepts related to measuring out, aiming, calculating, preparing, being able, and having power in Arabic. There's a concept among Arabic-speaking people, al-qadar, or Kadara. I don't know how to say it properly. I apologize. See, that's why it's good to know several languages. I don't know Arabic. Divine decree and divine measure, predestination. And what this statement means is, through Allah's divine decree, al-Qadar, everything is created and pre-planned. So you have these words and what they mean. Qadar is to decree or to judge or to give the final verdict regarding something or to make a decisive decision about something. And Kadara, you see, you have these major consonants: to measure, to assess, to determine. That's what they relate to. And then the concept of al-Qadar is the concept of what Allah has measured, preordained, predestined to post-eternity. The Qadar would be the state, time, place, attributes, and features of everything as documented in the preserved tablet. These relate to this attribute of Allah, Al-Qadir, which relates to Allah's all-capability and Him being the most able and Him being the all-powerful, according to Islam. So the idea of predestination is every single thing from beginning to the end. And I'll tell you where disagreements among Muslims may appear, because they don't always agree regarding certain things. The idea is Allah plans everything, who we are going to be and the role that we're going to perform in the grand scheme of things and everything, really. If you hear Arabic speakers say these statements, this is what they mean. Qadan wa qadaran. It means it's the decree of God as preordained. Kadara, it's the decree of God as preordained, whether something happy or sad happens. You may also hear Kadara Allahu wa ma shafal, something like that. You hear Yoruba people all the time say Kadara Allahu, Kadara. So this is what they are probably trying to say, but incorrectly. Allah also determined and did as He willed. So there are other resources apart from the general introduction that I've given that you should check out. Qadar, meaning power, literally, but translated variously as fate, divine foreordainment, predestination, divine decree, and so on and so forth, is the concept of divine destiny in Islam. As God is all-knowing and all-powerful, everything that has happened and will happen in the future, including sinful human behavior, is not only known but commanded by Him. At the same time, human beings are responsible for their actions and will be rewarded or punished accordingly on Judgment Day. Everything is driven towards this one Judgment Day according to Islam and similar Abrahamic faiths. You either burn or you live in eternity, and I suppose that's like the end of it. Predestination or divine decree is one of Sunni Islam's 6 articles of faith. Since many things that happen on earth as a part of Allah's decree are bad or evil, the will of Allah can be divided into 2 sorts: the universal will, everything that happens, and the legislative will, what Allah commands human beings to do that they sometimes do not, like the Sharia. According to Islam, some early Islamic schools did not accept the doctrine of predestination. I should mention that not all Muslims agree. There are more Sunni Muslims than Shia Muslims, and then you have the Sufis and the different subsections of Islam, although many Sunni Muslims would like to disagree that they are not Muslims because of what they do, but you have all these different sects, and what is in the Quran tends to be pretty standard across the board, but how they translate it would be where they disagree. So as opposed to the Christian King James version, this version, and you have all these differences, they may keep the same words in Arabic. However, with the interpretation, and even with the interpretation of the hadiths and things like that, you may have issues. I'm grateful for this video that sort of broke it down for me, how Muslims split into the Sunni and Shias. They may disagree that it was Allah's will that Ali, who was Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law, did not immediately take over after Muhammad passed away. There were 2 people that took over, and then somebody else took over, and then when it was Ali's son, he had all these issues before it was eventually murdered by another section somewhere. This video explains it quite well. I encourage you to watch it. It puts many things into perspective. Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims, and not just between them, even within these categories, they may not necessarily agree on the extent of free will. Also, I did a search on YouTube and I was able to watch quite interesting debates. This one I found interesting. If Allah has already pre-planned everything for us and knows the outcomes, why did He create heaven and hell? The result of this search, of this YouTube search, suggests answers to the question: if Allah knows what will happen from the beginning of time till the Judgment Day, and He created everything to be as it is, why does He allow evil to exist? And why did He create those who do evil, knowing that they will commit sins and burn in hell? Some people didn't really feel comfortable to ask, because some sects within Islam think it's even haram to be asking that kind of question, like why asking Allah questions. Other similar questions seem to be: why give someone the free will to choose evil with the knowledge that it will bring them eternal suffering? Why orchestrate things in such a way that some will be good and some will be evil? And a lot of the answers that people were given in the debates and the comment section, it seems to be like, oh, free will, Allah will not force you to be. But isn't it contradictory if you're saying that everything has been planned? That's not free will, that is like the illusion of free will. Everything Allah knows. Who's going to make heaven, who's going to burn in hell. If we are not all knowing like babies, and Allah is like parents, instead of allowing us to ignore warnings and choose badly like babies often do, why doesn't He remove the evil from our reach so that we can avoid it and be safe and make heaven? Still under the subject of free will and choice, let's say Allah is this father and mother. You know that this baby, they are not as all-knowing as you are. You know that they are not so accustomed with how things work on earth, and you know that they are going to touch fire. Because you want to allow them to exercise their free will, you allow them to approach hell without doing anything about it. I would really like some conversation in that regard, especially from the Muslims. Does Allah give genuine free will or the illusion of free will? So that's sort of like the major debates, and there are several videos on YouTube, I assure you, that attempt to answer the questions. I really like to see what you think. Al-Qadr, divine power in relation to predestination, which is essentially where all these words came from. That concept is really interesting. Divine power in relation to predestination. And I found this in the Hausa dictionary, Kadara or Kudra, and this is the Ajami version. To will or decree. In Yoruba, we say Kadara. Destiny is the common translation that is given. Let's see what destiny means. The events that will necessarily happen to a person or thing in the future. The hidden power believed to control what will happen in the future, like fate, is from the Latin word destinare, which is to make firm or to establish. Destinata, which is also Latin, Old French destiny, and then you have destiny, Middle English. So if you want to more accurately translate destiny based on its origin, destinare, you could say something that is established, grounded, something that is. The concept of destiny in the Yoruba culture is quite different from how the Abrahamic faith people see. There's this rigidity of there's a God who plans everything and everything is driven towards the judgment day, which really is not our culture. Because of the cultural mixtures and because you have all these mixed identities, Yoruba but Muslim, you have all this mixing of ideas. So for the Yoruba person, the best place to go for information regarding something like that would be the Odu Ifa. You have to check the Odus for accurate information, which we're going to do today. But first of all, I thought to even think as a Yoruba person that the word Kadara might have anything to do with destiny is mad. Ki-a will give you ka, so that would be something along the lines of that way, di, or di. The word is really di. When a noun comes after di, become something. And then ara in Yoruba is thunder. So if you look at it, Kadara, if treated like an authentic Yoruba word, will give you that we become thunder, which doesn't make any sense. We have homonyms and we have words that may be spelled similarly or whatever, but have different meanings or something, or have the same pronunciation. But regardless of that we become thunder would not possibly give you destiny. It's just quite obvious that it's not and can't possibly be an authentic Yoruba word for destiny. And you'll be quite surprised. There are many words like that we use that if you treat them like authentic Yoruba words, really they don't make any sense. I did Adura in the past. For instance, if you treat it like an authentic Yoruba word and you break it down, you realize just how meaningless can't possibly be an authentic word for prayer. I guess when you're just speaking the language, except you really sit down to write it down or study it and look at the word in and of itself, you're very likely going to skip the fact that words like that can't possibly be original words. The idea of destiny in the Yoruba culture, especially grounded in the Odu Ifa, is a little bit different from what is thrown around. Ikpin is a general term that is used for the concept of predestination. It's really grounded in choice. So I have to start by saying we don't think Olodumare hands you your destiny and says go and fulfill that. At least the Odu Ifa doesn't tell us so. We have the concept of choice in Yoruba spirituality where you choose who you're going to be. Ikpin is the general broad term for that. The word means share. I is the noun maker, the thing that is. Verbs came before nouns. So you had a vowel with a particular tone to a verb. It becomes a noun maker. You add it to a verb, you make the combination a noun. The thing that is, ikpin is divide or share. So the thing that is shared is ikpin, share. A person's chosen part, the part that you've chosen. So that would be your path. And it's grounded in the reality that nobody can be everything every time to everyone everywhere. You can't be the president, the first lady, the governor, the servant, the monarch, the this, the olori, you can't be the only one living on this planet playing every part. That's like lunacy. When a person starts to play that part of, oh, I'm the president now and we typically check their minds. It's not well. So you can't be everything every time to everyone everywhere. And that's why you have this concept of your share, your path, a term, a philosophy that is quite important when it comes to Yoruba spirituality is the concept of anyomo, and it's more specific to the incarnation or reincarnation process. Anyomo. Ikpe is just used for all this anyomo, akunlegba, all these concepts that relate to incarnation or reincarnation. Ikpe is just used as a general word for all of them. But let's address all these other words one by one. Anyomo, is the act of, it's a noun maker. Nyo is a verb, is to choose. Mo is very versatile, so to say. You can use it as a preposition, you can use it as an adverb, you can use it as a verb. So it could be with, it could be to put something on something else, rest something on something else, or whatever other verbs that come before the something on something else. It could also be in association with, it could be as well as, it could be to do something to the detriment of something else, it could be to last or thrive. It has homonymic tendencies, which is why it's interesting. So if you say something like moro mo tipe tipe, I attach to you closely, could be used in the concept of attach. If you say ogba igi mo mi lori, the person hit my head with a stick. Osha adamo ara elese, he slammed the machete on his own leg. What he just describes with more being there is something going against something else, Mo oka obemo apayan lowo, she caught the assassin holding onto the knife. To catch something with somebody else, with. When somebody becomes a chief in Yoruba land, we will say Oye Amori, Oye chieftaincy. The chieftaincy would last on your head, would thrive on your head, will survive on your head. So it's still that something being stuck to something, or something being associated with something, or something lasting on something. The chieftaincy will last on your head, the head being a metaphor for on your path. Owa moapo, money will last long in your pocket. So to last. Mo. All these explanations and similar ones are used as transliterations and translations for mo. The thing that is chosen and attached and affixed to last. What you pick and attach and affix to yourself to last. I'd like you to listen to a brief discussion by Baba Ifayemi the Araba of Oshogbo, so that you can gain insights into the incarnation process from a Babalawo's perspective. So from the perspective of the Oduifa, I found different people explaining the concept of Ayomo on YouTube, on Facebook. Feel free, just search Ayomo, you find different explanations. Some were using terms like hard determinism. I don't think those have anything to do with the Yoruba culture, you could use those. And some were using words like Kadara, so that's my red flag for you don't even know that Kadara is not in the Oduifa. But I quite liked Baba's well-rounded description.
Eriwo ya, eriwo fan, ẹni ènìyàn ẹ pẹ̀lẹ́ o. Ẹni tó dúró ẹ kú ìdúró, èèyàn tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹ sì kú ìkàlẹ̀ o. Those who are standing, greetings to you. Those who are bending, those who are sitting, greetings to you. Gbogbo àbẹ̀rẹ̀ mọ́jòkó ẹ kú àgbọ́dìde, ojú tẹ́ ẹ mú wòran ọ̀pẹ àtojú tẹ́ ẹ mú wòran òdí. Abere majoko. Those who are bending but not sitting, greetings to you. Those who are squatting, probably Eku agbodide,
Greetings to you. You're not sitting, but you're not standing. Your eyes.
Ẹ̀yin ò sì ní fojú ọ̀run sunkún òkú làgbòrò lọ.
That you're using to watch this video regarding the Odifa. You will not use those eyes to mourn, to cry publicly.
Orí ló dá ni, ẹnìkan kì í dá orí.
It is the Ori that creates the physical manifestation, the incarnation. Nobody creates their Ori, the higher self.
Adífáforí, orí ń bẹ lógbèrè òun nìkan ṣoṣo.
We make a divination for Ori when it was in a blank state and was alone, lonely.
Wọ́n ní kó káalẹ̀ ẹbọ ní kó yá mú ṣe. Orí gbẹ́bọ ń bẹ, orí rúbọ.
The Ori was advised, that's the physical head, when it was lonely. It was advised to give an offering, to make a propitiation that is called, to do certain things, to make certain sacrifices. I'm going to make a separate video on Ebo. And Ori obeyed those instructions. The physical head was no longer lonely. The hairs joined the head, became attached to the head. The eyes came and joined the physical head. The mouth joined the physical head. Now it's no longer just an empty void. It has all this because the Ori did what it was supposed to do.
Orúkọ tèmi ni Olóyè Ifáyẹmí Ẹlẹ́bùíbọn Àràbáwo ìlú Òṣogbo. Àkòrí ohun tí a fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí lónìí ni àyànmọ́.
Today's title is related to the concepts of àyànmọ́.
Ìpín àti ẹ̀dá. Ohun tí àwa Yorùbá gbàgbọ́.
What we Yoruba people believe
gẹ́gẹ́ bí àyànmọ́ ni pé nǹkan tí.
As what àyànmọ́ means is.
Tí a ti yàn láti òde ọ̀run.
What we've chosen from ọ̀run. What our higher selves chose in ọ̀run.
Tó jẹ́ pé òun ló bá wa dé ilé ayé.
And that selection is what comes with us to this sphere, to this physical realm.
Oríṣiríṣi ẹ̀yà àbí orílẹ̀-èdè ni wọ́n ní àwọn ìtàn tó rọ̀ mọ́ bá a ṣe yan ìpín.
Different ethnic groups, different nations have their own theories of how predestination works, of how we select our share.
Ìgbàgbọ́ tí àwa Yorùbá ni pé.
For the Yoruba people, what we believe is.
Látòde ọ̀run, òun la ti yan gbogbo nǹkan tá a wá ṣe láyé.
It is from ọ̀run that we decide what we've come to this sphere, to this earth to do.
Ntí ó ṣe wá àti ntá wá ṣe.
What will happen to us and what we will do.
Òòṣà kan pàtàkì tí a ní nílẹ̀ Yorùbá.
One significant deity that we have in Yoruba land.
Ó ní Ọbàtálá.
Is Ọbàtálá.
Ọbàtárìṣà. Ó ní alámọ̀ tí mọ̀ pín.
Ọbàtárìṣà, the sculptor, the potter that molds the ìpín, the share, the human incarnation.
Ní ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ ni a ti yan rí.
And it is where Ọbàtálá puts this finished work that we choose our incarnation.
Iṣẹ́ tí Ọbàtálá ń ṣe gẹ́gẹ́ bí ara àwọn ìránṣẹ́ Olódùmarè.
Ọbàtálá's duty as one of the workers of Elédùmarè.
Ó ní láti máa fi amọ̀ mọ gbogbo àwa èèyàn. Ṣùgbọ́n
is to use clay to mold persons, human lives, human incarnations. It's molded like clay in the shape of a head.
Olódùmarè ni wàá fi èémí sí.
It is Olódùmarè that would then put their breath in it.
Tí ó fi di èèyàn.
Then it becomes a person, a human life.
Tí ó lẹ́mìí, tí ó lọ́wọ́ tí
And that human would have breath, they would have hands,
ó lẹ́sẹ̀ tí ó lè gbéra.
they would have legs, they would have the momentum to lift their body and be in their body.
Nígbà tí Ọbàtálá bá mọ amọ̀ tán,
When Obatala is done with making the molds,
ojúṣe àwọn èèyàn tó fẹ́ wá sílé ayé
the duty of the people who want to incarnate is not a by force thing. As a soul, as a higher self, you're not forced. You don't you want to incarnate? No, you decide, you choose. I want to experience what it is like to be human. The duty of a person who was then chosen to be a human
òun ni láti wá gbé orí tó bá wù.
is to carry, to select whatever head. Ori here has been used as a metaphor for the human incarnation, to then choose the life that they want, the incarnation that they want.
Kí ẹlòmíì tó ṣe eléyìí, ó ti ṣe àyẹ̀wò.
Before some people do their selection, they would have checked, they would have done their divination, they would have sought advice.
Láti lọ dáfá pé ilé ayé tí mo fẹ́ lọ yìí o.
That this physical realm that I want to go to,
Báwo ni ó ṣe rọ̀ mí lọ́rùn?
how easy would it be for me if I choose to go?
Gbogbo nǹkan téèyàn ní tí wọ́n fi ní.
How would I have the things that a person is supposed to have or experience?
Ẹlòmíì ò sì gbìyànjú láti ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀.
And some people, they don't put any effort into that. They just want to experience what it is like to be a human. They don't put that much thought into it or that much energy into finding out, doing whatever is necessary.
Ẹlòmíì lọ ṣàyẹ̀wò
Some people go to check, to divine,
pé òun fẹ́ lọ ilé ayé.
that they want to come to the physical realm, to Ile Aye.
Ètùtù tí wọ́n ní kó ṣe kò ṣe.
What they're asked to do, they don't do it.
Ẹlòmíì ẹnìkejì rẹ̀ ọ̀run ẹgbẹ́ ọ̀run ẹnì torí méjì méjì ni Ọlọ́run dá wa sílé ayé.
For some people, their partner in Orun, we exist in twos, their second person in Orun,
Ẹni ọ̀run òun ló ran ẹlòmíì lọ́wọ́.
that partner would help them while they exist in the human form.
Gbogbo nǹkan tí wọ́n ní kó ṣe létùtù.
Everything they asked the person who wants to come, who wants to incarnate, to do as etutu, something that you do to ease out something, what may appear to be a difficulty, to bring calm to that situation. Everything that person has been asked to do,
Ó lè yá lówó ó máa ń yára wọn lówó ńgbà míì.
their partner may lend them money. Partners lend each other money. Money here would be the resources that they need to do whatever they need to do to make the human incarnation easy.
Àdéhùn máa wà.
There will be an agreement between the partners
Bí tó bá ti délé ayé o.
that when you come to the physical realm, when you come to the earth, so to say,
Gbogbo owó tí mo yá o, ó bá mi dá padà o.
the money I lent you, pay your debts, pay me.
Ẹlòmíì ṣàdéhùn pé tí mo bá ti ní owó tó bá pé èjì,
Some people make an agreement that if they have double,
ẹyọ kan tiẹ̀.
they will give their partner in Orun one. The partner may also be on earth as well. I think that's what Baba said earlier. Meji meji lolon dawa sile aye. They may be here and they don't necessarily have to be the ones that we will marry. I'm holding myself from mentioning soulmate or twin flame because I know that those ones have become their own thing in such a way that they are very romanticized. My soulmate, and there's sometimes such an unrealistic, especially if you check all these memes and you check all the social media. There's such and blogs, there's such an unrealistic presentation of who this twin flame may be and what they may be like.
Mo bá ní aṣọ méjì, ọ̀kan tiẹ̀.
You may make an agreement with your partner, whether they are on earth or that if you have two clothes, you give them one.
Mo bá kọ́lé méjì, àdéhùn tẹ́lòmíì ṣe lóde ọ̀run.
If I have two houses, I'll give you one. Because they supported you this way, you're going to support them back in whatever way.
Tí a bá ṣe ètùtù tán,
That's the agreement that people make. Still in preparation for incarnating, when we are through with the etutu process for what will make the human incarnation easier.
ẹlòmíì lọ níjọ́ tí wọ́n sọ pé gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ó lọ ilé ayé o, ẹ wá o.
Some people will go on the day that they have meetings. Okay, all you souls that want to incarnate, we're going to have a meeting. Some higher self souls will attend the meetings.
Ìpàdé wà o.
We're going to have a
Ìyẹn fi máa
meeting.
sọ pé ẹni tó wáyé ò pọ̀ bí ẹni tó sìn wọ́n wá.
That's the reason why we say those who come to the earth intentionally with enough preparation are less than the ones who just came, who just accompanied them.
Ẹlòmíì ìjọ tí wọ́n pe ìpàdé òun kò lọ síbẹ̀.
Some people, on the day that they call the meetings, let's meet people that want to incarnate or reincarnate, they didn't go.
Ẹlòmíì lọ síbẹ̀ kò tiẹ̀ fọkàn sí nǹkan tí wọ́n ní kó ṣe.
Some people went, but they didn't pay attention to what was being said.
Tí wọ́n bá ti fẹ́ lọ,
While preparing to go,
ibì kan wà tí wọ́n á ti sọ pé kí olúkálùkù ó mú ọkọ́.
there's a place where they say, everybody take a hoe. Whatever the equivalent of a hoe is, grab one.
Láti máa gbẹ́ kòtò.
And dig a hole.
Kòtò téèyàn bá gbẹ́ yìí, bó bá ṣe jè tó, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àṣedànù ń tọ̀hún ṣe mọ.
The deeper a person digs a hole, there's a specific place where you dig a hole. The deeper your hole, the more the unfulfillment, lack of fruition that they will experience while they are human.
Ẹni tí kòtò òfo rẹ̀ bá jìn gan-an yóò ṣiṣẹ́ púpọ̀ láyé o.
I don't know, this part is just making me laugh. Whoever, it's not funny, by the way, I apologize. Whoever has a really deep hole will do quite a lot of work as a human in their incarnation. It will, yikes.
Ẹlòmíì ò tí ì gbẹ́ kòtò ń débi kan tá a gbó fi lù gbọ́n ẹ̀yà ìpò ẹ wá máa lọ ibi tẹ́ ti lọ gbé orí.
And some people are lucky. They would have barely scratched the surface with the hole that they selected before time will be up. A bell will be rung. Okay, everybody, just leave it. Now go and select your incarnations. Go and select your ori. It's time. Some people would have barely dug a kotofu before it would be time for them to select their incarnations.
Agbára ẹlòmíì lágbá. Gbígbá tó bá gbá ọkàn mú báyìí. Kùsà. Bí kòtò.
And some people are excessively passionate that when they grab the hole, they start digging. Kusha. They put their backs into it so much so.
Bá ṣe jìn tó. Nígbà tí kòtò òfo bá dí, ènìyàn bẹ̀rẹ̀ àṣeyọrí láyé.
Think of sand. When you dig a hole, sooner or later, it's just like a desert, it starts to fill up. Of course, the more you dig, the longer it will take for your hole to fill up. It is when that hole starts to fill up that you start to reap the fruits of your work, that the unfulfillment stops and you really start to enjoy what you've worked for on earth.
Ẹni tí kòtò òfo ẹ̀ ò bá tí ì dí, yóò máa ṣe náà ni kò ní tí ì rójútu ẹ̀.
Anyone whose kotofo has not been covered up yet, we just keep working. They won't really get where they would have wanted to get to yet. When we're done with the whole digging stage, the pit digging stage, whoever has to do, that is some things that you do to make your journey easy, your human journey easy, whoever has stuff to do will go do them. Some people, they did divine, yes, but what they've been told, do this, do. Some people do it, some people don't care, some people don't. When they're done with the etutu, then they'll ask, what is the feedback from the ebo that they did? Some people, they won't go too far. Some people just the way, that's how far they'll go. Some people, the junction. Whoever takes their ebo to a bush, a forest, where there's vegetation, I'm thinking, just based on some other theory, it could even be Ilya, like they are not human yet. They've not been born yet, but they want to be human. They want to incarnate. So it could even be the human Igbo too, the human forest. Maybe I'm reading too much Ngbojuode type stories, but it could also be the Igbo here, but it could also be the one in Orun. So, but whoever puts their Ebo there, puts their Ebo in Igbo, the forest, those are the ones that grow old. Di arúgbó. I like that. It's a nice metaphor.
Ẹni tó rú ẹbọ rẹ̀ sí inú igbó, kò sí ǹdéyàn fẹ́ ṣe sí.
There's nothing one can really do about it.
Ẹ tó bá ti jẹ́ pé látọ̀run ló ti rú ẹbọ sí yóò gbó.
A person who from Orun put their ẹbọ in Igbo will gbó, will grow old.
Gbogbo wàhálà tó wù kó lè rí láyé.
Despite any troubles and trials they may encounter in the physical realm.
Bó ta ti wù kó dà láàmú tó, yóò gbó, yóò tàn torí ó ti rú ẹbọ sínú igbó.
No matter how enemies, seen or unseen, may try to attack them, no matter how they try to cut their lives short, they will grow old.
They máa ń sọ pé arúgbó.
That's why they say arúgbó.
Tí wọ́n bá ti parí eléyìí, iṣẹ́.
After this stage,
tó tún kàn.
The next stage.
Ó ní kí kálukú wá lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ Ajala.
Don't be confused. If you hear Ajala, humans bear Ajala too, by the way. Ajala or Ajala Mokme or Rishala or Babarugbo or Obatala, still the same entity.
Alamo tí Mokme.
The potter that sculpts or molds incarnations. That's Obatala.
Ajala yìí náà là ń pè ní Òsàlá, Ọbàtálá, Ọbàtáìsà. Mo wá fẹ́ sọ ìtàn kan láti inú Odùfà Ògbèyọnú.
Baba wants to tell us something from Ògbèyọnú, one of the Odus.
Ẹ̀bìtì òkè ní Yẹ̀dígbàrà, Adífáforí Sọ́kú ọmọ Ògún, Adífáforí Lèmèrè ọmọ Ìjà, Adífá fún Awùwàpẹ́ ọmọ Ọ̀rúnmìlà.
So in that Ogbe, there are three people who want to incarnate: Orí Ṣánkú, Orí Lèmèrè, and Awùwàpẹ́. Those names are metaphorical names. Orí Ṣánkú, Ṣánkú is to die a really unplanned, just like that, death. Ku is to die. Ṣánkú, just die like that. Orí Ṣánkú, the head that just dies like that. Orí Lèmèrè, the head that is troubled by Emiri, that is troubled by forces that may disturb, so the person is not balanced in their body. And then Awùwàpẹ́ is the person who acts for long, the person who survives. We have metaphorical names like that, Ọ̀ṣun, Ògún, all these names that are really just metaphors for character. Those are characteristical metaphorical names for different types of incarnations.
Àwọn mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta wọ́n fẹ́ wá sí ilé ayé.
All three of them wanted to come to ilé ayé.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bá a ṣe sọ oríṣiríṣi iṣẹ́ táwọn èèyàn máa ń ṣe.
As Baba has described the typical process for incarnation.
Ṣùgbọ́n Orí Ṣánkú kò ṣàyẹ̀wò.
Orí Ṣánkú did not check, so that's the metaphor for the people who don't check. Don't divine for me, bro. I'm just going to incarnate. Really? I don't care.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ lórí Lèmèrè, Awùwàpẹ́.
Orí Lèmèrè did not divine either. They didn't put work into seeking as much information as they could regarding their human incarnation that they wanted to acquire.
Ó nìkan ni ó sọ fún bàbá rẹ̀, ó sì dáfá fún.
It was only Awùwàpẹ́ that told their father, and they, of course, did divination.
Wọ́n á ní lílọ tí ń lọ yìí, wọ́n ní kó mú ẹgbàá àti ìdí iyọ̀ kan lọ́wọ́.
So they told Awùwàpẹ́, after the divination, take 2,000, let's just say 2,000 cowries, 2,000 whatever the currency of Orun is. But let's just say 2,000 cowries so that we can have a physical depiction, and 1 pack of salt.
Ìgbà tí Orí Ṣánkú tó ṣe gbogbo àwọn iṣẹ́ tó ṣe, nígbà tí ó lọ rè gbé orí kò bá.
When Orí Ṣánkú went to select a head in Ọbàtálà's house garden, where you select your heads.
òòṣà ńlá.
He didn't find òrìṣà ńlá at home. He didn't see òrìṣà ńlá.
obìnrin kan wà tí máa ta ọtí fún Ajala.
There was a woman who used to sell, may not necessarily be alcohol, that type of drink, palm wine or something. Alcohol is a pretty recent thing in terms of drinks that we've interacted with.
kò wá rówó san.
Obatala couldn't pay for that drink. These are metaphors, by the way. You have to think of it with a higher or you won't get it. Ajala, Obatala, was owing that woman money. It couldn't pay for the drink that he bought earlier.
obìnrin wa dógò wípé.
Ogo is like somebody owes you money. Let's say you are the creditor and you sit down in their house and you refuse to leave. Like, it doesn't matter if they come back here 12 years from now. Whenever they come, I'm going to get my money. I'm not leaving. Sometimes it is like the person's bicycle that they will take from their compound and say, okay, until they return and they give me my money, or until you give me my money, if they find them at home, I'm not giving you back your bicycle. Sometimes they will go into their pot, eat their meat, sit on their couch, watch their TV. Now in modern times, but back in the day, they would sit on their bed, they would go through their things, they would just do whatever they like on the premise that the person must be hiding from them. And when they're tired of hiding, or when they're tired of running away from the house, each time they see them, they will come into the house or come out from their place of hiding and give them their money. So that's what the woman was doing. She just sat there and was like, until Ajala comes back and gives me the money, I'm not leaving. Obatala was owing 2,000. And she decided that if she doesn't collect that 2,000, she's not leaving. When Orishoku got there, he just saw an overwhelming variety of incarnations, and he just, oh, this one looks good. Let me take this one. Obatala was actually at home, but Obatala was in the ceiling watching what was happening below. But because of Ajala's creditor, because Ajala was owing money to the woman Obiniton Dogo, he just stayed there. He didn't say anything to Orishoku, who came and just selected the head. Ori Lemere got there as well, selected the head. When it became Awakwe's turn to do their own head selection, they had done everything that they had been asked to do. When Awakwe got there, got to the head selection place, he met the woman selling oti. He greeted the ya.
Bàbá Ajala ńkọ́ ní à bí ọ̀túnla l'Àjàlá bá tó dé lòun tó kó ń bí.
He asked about Ajala. What about Obatala? Babarubu, where's he? And the woman said, if he comes here the day after tomorrow, he will find me here. I'm not going to leave here until I collect my money. Awakwe asked, what's the matter? And then she said, he owes me 2,000. Egba is igba mewa, egbewa. If you combine igba and mewa, then when you shrink egbewa, you have egba. So he took the 2,000 that he was advised to take with him and gave it to the woman selling the oti. It was then that Ajala came down from where he was. And he told Awakwe, the third person. The other two had gone. That some people had come here before you, and a lot of this many heads are not, they look good, but all that glitters is not gold. They are not as fantastic as they look at first glance. The people who select don't know. You just select based on how good it may look or something, but the potter knows what they've built, right? Knows where there might be defects. Some will look round and nice, some of those ori, but whoever takes them would have problems with them. They're not fantastic. He took a rod and began to slam the rod on some of those heads. So some of those heads are weak. If he took a rod, slammed it on the head, some of them broke. It will hit some heads with the rod and there will be a crack. Some, they will just like that. There were many not good heads. The lesson here is he didn't just choose based off of physical appearance. Obatala was able to test those heads for him and he was able to choose the one that he was certain was in good shape. Baba is saying it is the souls, like us, that we interact with in the non-physical realm that we end up meeting and interacting with in the physical realm. So you find that some people, you're just really comfortable with them. Did I know you somewhere? I'm just really comfortable with your energy. That's because we knew them from the non-physical realm. Barney, walk with. The ones we walk with and we are with there are the ones that we will walk with and be with here, whether they will be a family or friends or whatever. You will just meet them anyway in your human incarnation if they've incarnated too. You will definitely find them around you. Baba is telling us that Orishoku, Orilemere and Awakwe, they were still within the same environment. They still kind of knew one another when they incarnated because they knew one another. But Orishoku was having a very unfulfilling life because of the kind of Ori that he selected, of course. He did a lot of work to no avail. Same as the second person, Orilemere. Orishanku, just like the name suggests, didn't last in the physical realm too long. Their incarnation was short. They just died a really untimely death. Orilemere, same thing. Probably Baba is going to say. Orilemere, ona emere ni. Ṣùgbọ́n Awakwe, ó jogbo ọjà tán, ó kọ́lé, ó ṣosin. But Awakwe lived old, had everything they had, became fruitful. Ishin is Aki fruit. I think that's the English name from the Ghanaian Akie or so. They became fruitful. So this is like what is being used as a metaphor for they had a fruitful life. They had children. They had children. Maybe those other two or maybe other people were now wondering, but you guys selected your heads from the same place. How come some are good and some are not up to par? I don't know what section how Wakwe went to select their own head because I would have gone there as well. We selected our heads in the same place, but we don't have the same fates. This tells us that we all, of course, that's why we incarnated. We all selected a path, but we have different shares.
Kálukú ni ó sì gbọ́dọ̀ máa ṣiṣẹ́ tọ ìpín ẹ̀.
And each person has to pursue their path, their share in the scheme of things. They have to do what they selected to do.
Mo tún fẹ́ ṣe ní àlàyé ní ìkádìí ètò yìí ni pé tẹ́lòmíì bá ti sọ pé tó bá gbà oríire lórí rẹ̀ o kò túmọ̀ sí pé kọ́mọ́ ṣiṣẹ́ mọ́ o.
What Baba also wants to explain using this medium is, for some people they would have told them, oh, you selected a good Ori when they divine here on earth. They'll tell them, oh, you selected the good Ori and you should have a fruitful life. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't work towards having that life.
Nígbà wọ́n ti sọ pé oríire lórí mi tí ó bá ṣiṣẹ́ ibi ọ̀pá ìyà ó jẹ o. And
there are Ifa Odus that talk about it as well. Don't say, oh, because you selected the good, that's not the be all and end all. You still have to pursue what you're here to pursue for that good Ori to actualize. If you don't work, if you don't do anything, just sit down somewhere and decide that your good Ori is going to manifest somehow, you will suffer and you will go hungry because, of course, you won't be able to sustain yourself. And if they say somebody has selected a head that is not fantastic, it still doesn't mean that they shouldn't work to pursue betterment, that they shouldn't make any effort. That's not our selections are not the be all end all of things. That's what Baba is saying here. That's the initial, that's what you're working with, but it's not the conclusion. If a person worked towards it, despite the fact that their pre-birth selections were not too great, they will still make it, but it just won't be as much as somebody who actually chose a good Ori from the start. Obviously, they would have more trouble getting there, but still they will get there. It just won't be with the ease that somebody who chose a good Ori initially would have. If they don't give up, if they don't rest, if they keep pursuing, that's why they say I see me logunshi. That is the remedy to poverty, is not giving up, not resting. That's the remedy. They should work. They should not be afraid to sweat and work, put in time, put in the work. And they should also, from the spiritual perspective, do what is necessary. The person should also have good character. If a person has a good hair, good incarnation, they still have to have a good character. What this Ifa verse tells us is a person who has a good head, good incarnation, good destiny, good faith, or whatever English words you want to use, but they have a bad character. It is that bad character that would eventually still spoil that good head that they selected initially. So it doesn't even matter that you selected a good one. Many things are not mutually exclusive. They work together, hand in hand. Good character, good head. If a person has a good head, they also have to have good legs. Not good Beyonce legs, but good legs. That is, it's not just the Ori that is the most important, but there are other parts of our bodies that come up in the Odifa or come up in spirituality related matters that are also metaphors for other things. Ori is a metaphor for many things. S is a metaphor for some things. Oju is a metaphor for some things. Oju inu, oju ode, all that. If a person has a good head, but their legs are not good, then their legs won't take them to where their Ori is asking them to go to. Certain aspects of them will not cooperate with their good head.
wọ́n ní kó dé lásìkò.
So for some people, having not good legs, how that manifests is your head provides an opportunity for you, your good head. The way Orire works, good head, well, doesn't mean that somebody will come and drop $1 million in your bedroom still. So don't get confused. It still doesn't mean that everything is going to come on a platter of gold. You might get more yeses than nos as a result and stuff like that, but it still doesn't mean that you're not going to have to work. So a person who has a good head but not good legs will get to where their Ori has made opportunities for them to get to late. You have an interview in a company, if that is your path. If your legs are bad, you'll find yourself missing that appointment, or sleeping in, or dragging your feet, or you want to press the accelerator, you won't press. Just something delays you, you don't get there on time. If you give a person a slot, come, we will give you work. Come at this time. If you come at this time, we'll give you work. Whoever is having leg troubles, not leg troubles physically, again with Yoruba, everything is a metaphor, who has issues on their path with their legs, they would always find something that would delay them. They would always find an obstruction. They are always creating the opportunities, but they are still finding obstructions. This is advanced. They won't get there on time. This is advanced Yoruba spirituality as well. Like, even if your Ori is good, then you have all these other parts. They won't get there on time. Maybe the other people, their Ori is not as strong or something, but they put in effort, they put in work, they will still reap opportunities, the openings that the person that is supposed to have the good head was supposed to have. Some people's legs draw them back from the openings that their heads have created. We have to have good head selection, but not necessarily. Negative effect of our selection may then be countered by having a good character and a good drive to succeed, irrespective of what our initial choice is. After this, leg head, we still have to have good chest. Still have to have a strong chest. You still have to be brave and not cowardly. For some people, they would have good heads, good selections. It's like, oh, go, you have this opening. Some people would not be able to take it. They wouldn't have the courage to take it. Somebody personally invites you to this audition, oh, you should come. You have this feeling that if you go, it might actually come through and you might actually get that role. Or if you try to apply as a candidate for this political opening, you might actually get it. Some people still let their fear get over them and they, oh, I can't make that audition, I'm sorry. And they tell their agents that, or I can't contest, I'm sorry. I know that I will be a good leader and I just have that feeling and I've dreamt about it many times. And for maybe an aspiring actor, I've even seen myself play this role in my dream. But still, they still don't have the courage. A person must have a strong chest, strong willpower, inner strength, inner ability to push the negative away. These are the other aspects that are important apart from the Ori. The crown is the most important, yes, like I said in the video and I share, but you still have all these parts that have to come together. The sacral chakra, the base, the intuition, all these parts. It's not the exact same as our concept, but based on the Odrifa anyway, as Baba is explaining. And that's how things work.
ìní èyí tí à ń sọ yìí tó sì jẹ́ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ń rí.
Different religions, different sections have their own beliefs, but this is our belief, and we found that that's how things seem to work. Really, that's how things have been.
Àyànmọ́ wa Olódùmarè ò ní jẹ́ kó burú.
Olódùmarè will not let our àyànmọ́ be bad, play out in ways that cannot be remedied.
Ìpín wa Olódùmarè ò ní jẹ́ kó dà á láàmú.
May our paths, may our incarnations not bother us. May they not give us trouble.
Kí a ní wà rí, ká ṣiṣẹ́, ká sì ní òtítọ́.
We should have a good character, we should work, and we should be trustworthy, we should be truthful.
Léyìí ni ó fún wa ní ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀.
These are the things that will give us peace of mind.
Òun la fi lè ṣe àṣeyọrí.
That's how we can succeed.
Ẹ̀làbọ̀rú ẹ̀làbọ̀yè.
Baba really took his time to explain all these factors. I added a picture of these heads just to give you a mental picture of what Baba said. You know, you have all these head selections. There's a part of the Odwifa that says, Àyànmọ́ ògbóògùn orílẹ̀lẹ́jọ́. Àyànmọ́ ògbóògùn orílẹ̀lẹ́jọ́. Àyànmọ́ ògbóògùn. I think that's what 90% of the Odwifa is about. Adifa fún, ṣẹlẹ̀. Do this, and you can remedy this negative aspect of your head selection. Do that, and you can remedy this. So the entire Odwifa itself is proof that Àyànmọ́ gbóògùn, that a person's selection, head selection, can, if bad, if with defects, can be remedied many times. But there are still certain parts that cannot be changed, and it is regarding those parts that you will sometimes hear Àyànmọ́ ògbóògùn orílẹ̀lẹ́jọ́. Our chosen parts cannot be remedied. The Ori, the I yourself that did the selection, is the one to query, is the one who can answer. So your race, your gender, I don't know, maybe in the current world, if our ancestors that came up with you, if I lived in the current world, maybe they will have another perspective to things. But back in the day, they didn't have this gender changing technology that we now have, and there's really a lot going on. But I do know that the process of changing one's gender is not necessarily easy. Things that we cannot easily change. I think there's one woman who tried to, or maybe she didn't try, maybe she was just being herself, but I do know that there was still some backlash. Some people don't even want you to change to their race. So that's another thing. Race, gender, lineage, the family that you were born into, you can't necessarily change that. For some people, it's their abilities and disabilities, not just like, oh, I can see, or I can, sometimes it's inbuilt, but for some people it's a disability that is physical as well. Oh, I can't see, and that's really something they cannot change. Even with surgery, still won't see, so they learn to live with it. Sometimes it's a person's genetics. Despite the fact that there are remedies in many forms, there are still certain aspects of ourselves that we cannot change. And it is in that regard that you may hear Àyànmọ́ ògbóògùn orílẹ̀lẹ́jọ́. Other concepts that you may also hear, Akunleyo. Here is the thing that Kunle is to kneel, and I've explained Kunle in detail, that kneeling or prostrating are not acts of submission in the Yoruba culture, especially when we use them for greeting and things like that. Don't think of people cutscene to Queen Elizabeth or something. It's a fertility thing. So fertility activation thing, or fertility honoring thing. So it's a different concept. Akunleyo, the thing that one kneels to choose, choose, is used to describe a process after the Àyànmọ́ stage, head selection stage, when we accessorize our heads, choosing specific qualities and personality traits. So the Àyànmọ́ would be like the base. Apart from race and all these things, yeah, those are like the major ones that we see from the human perspective, but there are still certain things that relate to Àyànmọ́. There's a theory that, and that's why we say Akunleyo ni àdáyébá. What you accessorize your head with is what you meet when you get here. And some people count the Ayomo stage as the Akunleyo stage. Like there's no other stage really. It's when you choose your head that you choose your Akunleyo. It really depends on how you see it anyway. People interpret Ifa verses differently. There's a belief that after the Ayomo stage, which seems to be the more general theory, you choose specific qualities. So I'm going to like this, I'm going to like that, I'm going to have a lisp, I'm going to have a this, or I'm going to have a that. I'm going to be able to dance. All these extra things that we use to accessorize the ori we've chosen. That's why we say Akunleyo ni Adaiva. Our non-earthly pre-birth choices yield what we find on earth, that is our earthly experiences. Akunlegba is the name for a concept in which strategies are put in place to help us actualize but not change what we've chosen. So maybe you've chosen the head of a healer and you've chosen that you're going to work with water. Maybe in your Akunleyo stage, you chose that you're going to be soft-spoken, and even your voice will be one of the many ways in which you do the healing and all that, and you're going to have this frame. No two people are the same. You're going to choose your own uniqueness. Akunlegba is theorized to be that stage where, okay, Oshun, guide this person, guide this higher self with this their human incarnation and help them fulfill it. Be their guide, so to say. When they come to you and they approach you, help them actualize that selection that they've made. Or, oh, I want to be a computer scientist. It could be based on the Ayomo, it could be based on the Akunleyo. Ogun, please help them with that. That's your forte. And sometimes it might even be an irumole that we just feel like, oh yeah, there's nothing about me that is, oh yeah, like I don't know what you're talking about, but oh yeah, are you sure? Are you sure it's not Oshun? That is when we come to this incarnation, of course. But in Ajula, they know. It could be based on certain qualities that you chose, and it could be based on your Ayomo, the core foundation of what you've chosen. You'll be assigned, oh, go through this path, or go through that path, or just anything that can help you actualize your selection will be offered to you. Akunlegba. The thing that one kneels to receive. The based on their choice is just an addition. Ba. It's just receive. Another discussion that addresses the moment when Ifa became Eleri when Ifa acquired the ability to assist people who may have made, I guess they didn't know it was a poor selection, but maybe they didn't do what was needed so that they would choose well. The people who have chosen poorly or who made poor decisions, Ifa being able to assist them with correcting that. The moment Ifa became the one who has the ability to remedy that is what Baba Fashayo is explaining in the video that I'm going to play next.
Baba boss ayembe. Gbọ́n kẹ́ bá lè mọ̀ pé ayé ń bẹ nǹkan méjì péré náà ló wà. Ẹ sáà wò. Ọlọ́run ọ̀run ó tún wá ní àwọn aláyé kò sí mẹ́ta rẹ̀. Aláyé alọ̀run. Ọlọ́run wà lóde ọ̀run. Ó wá ṣe ilé ayé ó wá gbé bí àwọn kan lọ́wọ́. Ifá olókun asọ̀rọ̀dayọ̀ ẹlẹ́rìí pé ibi kò jẹ́ o sá. Ọmọ mi ni ó wà ní Dublin. Eba. Tẹ́ẹ̀fù mọ̀ pé n tí a ń pè ní aláyé wọn ní agbára jù. Ẹ sáà wò. Ifá ní ọyẹ́ gbárí gidi má jòlé adífáfọ́ba àjàláyé ọyẹ́ gbárí gidi má jòlé adífáfọ́ba àjàlọ́run àwọn méjèèjì láwọn fẹ́ sẹ̀dẹ̀wò fáwọn èèyàn táwọn dá yìí wọ́n wá mú ẹrin ehoro sẹ́ẹ̀mí ehoro wọ́n wá dé mọ́nú gbá wọ́n wá wé lásọ funfun wọ́n wá pe Ọ̀rúnmìlà àti Ọ̀sẹ́yìn àtàwọn alágbára tí wọ́n gbà náà pé kí wọ́n wá wo ohun tí ń bẹ́nu igbá ìkíyàn sọ fáwọn.
What Baba is saying here is there are forces on earth when we arrive here. There are forces that manage Orun as well as there are forces that manage Aye. So Aye is not completely independent of any force that can influence it, that can modify certain things. Baba is reciting an Ifa verse, SFA, that mentions that Oba Ajalaye and Oba Ajalorun did a test. Orunmila or Soyin, all you other forces, come, we're going to do a test for you. They wanted to test humans, people who had incarnated. They took a rabbit, both kings, Ajala and Ajala, took a rabbit, covered it in a calabash,
wọ́n wá wí lásọ funfun.
Covered it with a white cloth. Covered the calabash with a white cloth. There was a rabbit in there, just to show that there are forces here that are powerful. All the ones that we did in all said and done, when you come here, then there are some forces here too that you may encounter.
Wọ́n wá pé Ọ̀rúnmìlà àti Ọ̀sẹ́yìn àtàwọn alágbára tí wọ́n wà ń gbà náà pé kí wọ́n wá wo ohun tí ń bẹ́nu ìgbà ìkíná sọ fáwọn.
They called Orunmila, one of the people that were incarnated then. They called Osonyi, they called all these people, like, come and tell us what is in this covered calabash.
Osonyi only. Orunmila ni baba Osonyi. Orunmila ni ntí ń bẹ́nu ìgbà yìí. Ó lọ ní ẹsẹ̀ mẹ́rin. Ó lọ ṣe tí kàṣàkàṣà. So Orunmila intuitively could kind of detect the characteristics of what was covered. It has large hairs. It can run. Kind of describe the features of a rabbit. And Osonyi, that was close to Orunmila, of course, and assisted with a lot of plant research that Ifa was able to use in the healing of people after divination, in the remedying of their matters, agreed with Orunmila, because Orunmila, of course, is their father. All the people also agreed with Orunmila's description. Yeah, another description that Orunmila gave was they have like a small roundish tail. Ajala now asks the ones who are the powerful forces, tell me, you powerful forces of the earth, tell me what is covered. Wọ́n ní ọlápá tí ń fi ń fò. Wọ́n lọ lápá tí fi ń fò. Wọ́n ló fi ń wìnìwìnì. Wọ́n ló fi ń wìnìwìnì. Wọ́n ló fi sẹ́nu sọ́nsọ́. Ó sẹ́nu sọ́nsọ́.
When they asked the humans, when the people from Orun, and it's not necessarily the sky, but a different realm, I'll keep pointing out, but not necessarily. When they asked, they said what is covered is different from what the humans, Orunmila or Osonyi, what is there is not as they've described, has a short tail, has long, said what is in fact there has wings, has a beak, described what would assume to be a bird. The Alaye and the Alorun knew that in fact what was in there initially was a rabbit. When they opened the calabash that had been covered earlier, they didn't find a rabbit there anymore. They found a guinea fowl.
Kábíyèsí Olódùmarè àwọn ìyá mi ti àwọn wọ́n ti padà. Nígbà ní ẹ̀yìn kí ló dé olódù àwọn Ọlọ́run àtàláyé ní nǹkan adébánú kí ni ìkọ́. Ìyá mi ní àwọn làwọn padà. Ìjọ náà ní Ọ̀rúnmìlà wá ní. Ó dá kẹ́ ẹ pa ní tó ń ṣe dà tó ṣe pé ní tó Olódùmarè ṣe bẹ̀ ni wọ́n ní kọ́ Ọ̀rúnmìlà ọmọ bínú. Wọ́n wá fún ní pé láti ìjọ náà bórí èèyàn bá dá látòdì ọ̀run ká padà parí dẹ̀dà kó lóríire. Ìjọ náà lè yà padà dé.
It was the mothers, the not witches, the powerful mothers, and I've explained that Ajay is not witch. I have a video dedicated to that, so I won't even bother to go into too much detail. Those who have seen the video know they were the ones who changed what was covered from a rabbit to a guinea fowl. So Orunmila was like, but you shouldn't have changed it. You know that it was Olodumare, people from Orun anyway, people who reside in Orun that put it there, and why would you change it? It's just the powerful forces of earth kind of showing out that they in fact that reside here are powerful. Trying to be very careful of the English terms I use. You have all these words, divine feminine, but the powerful mothers seems to be the phrase that I can think of that can describe these forces of women. And it was on this day that they promised Orunmila, don't be mad that we changed it to a guinea fowl. From this day onward, even if somebody has selected a poor Ayomo from Orun, when they get here, we will give you the ability to be able to remedy that. Baba is just describing the part of the Odu Ifa that tells us how Orunmila got the ability to detect what the remedy for negative pre-birth choices would be. Orunmila got that power from the Yami, the powerful mothers, essentially.
That
was the day that the Akpada leaves came. There are leaves that you call ewe apada. That was the day that sprung up and that began to grow on the surface of the earth. So even if from Aye, somebody's Ori is sort of tampered with or messed with or attacked, if you approach the people who have the knowledge, they can remedy that.
Yeah. Any
till now, tapping into Orumila's agreement from back then, a Babalawo can make attempts to fix something that has been destroyed. Make an agreement with the forces of Aye.
Atutu. Eloda bi pe kolopa o mu yan ni isin. Kẹ́nìkan wá mọ̀ Sajambeli. Sajambeli ni ọmọ ọlọ́pàá. Ẹni babaláwo Sajambeli ló jẹ́. Yó wá tọ̀ ọ̀gá ọlọ́pàá lọ pé ẹni mi tẹ́ mú o. Ó ní ẹ dákun ó ní kí n fún yín ní iye báyìí o.
Bó ṣe jẹ́gẹ́lẹ́ nù.
Ẹni ọ̀rọ̀ náà yóò kò sì ní le jù mọ́.
Kó dàbí ikú bá fẹ́ pààyàn.
Eba.
Tí ó bá délé babaláwo gidi. Tí wọ́n bá dáfọ́ tí wọ́n bá lúbọ fún un, wọ́n ó sì change. Wọ́n ó yí wọ́n fà padà. Ẹran ló kù tí ikú ọ̀mù lọ.
Even if a person is to die, maybe forces on earth have tampered with their Ori. It's like a charge and bail situation. A Babalawo can bail the person out and give the forces whatever they want. Let's say, they want a goat or they want a ram or something. Babalawo can give it to them like, okay, take that ram's life instead. This is like the deep stuff. Not everybody would understand this because, yeah.
Adìẹ̀rànà tí mo fi lẹ̀ lẹ́jọ́.
Ẹgbẹ́ ọdún bàkú lọ ni.
Ó fẹ́ gbọ́dún bàkú ọmọ Ọ̀rúnmìlà.
Nípa àdìẹ yìí, àwọn tó láyé ń bẹ o, ní tẹ̀bí léèrè nù.
Àwọn tó láyé wà.
Ẹni bá pé kò wọn ò sí kò mọ nǹkan.
Bó o la ṣe wà bọ́ kù lọ́wọ́ àwọn tó láyé ọ̀hún.
Gbogbo ẹ̀ ló nítàn. Ó sì lè ní.
The presenter, Babakola Olotu, is now asking, okay, how can we be free from whatever punishments that the forces on earth or attacks that the forces on earth may levy against us, or maybe one of our ancestors had done something, karmic debts, and we have to, how can we free ourselves? When you choose a particular Ori, Ayomo, and you incarnate into a particular family, whatever baggage they have, directly or indirectly, kind of affects you, whether it's their inability to communicate, whether it's somebody's anger, whether it's they had done something and offended somebody at some point, jilted somebody at some point, and the person was more powerful than they thought, and now their generation is having to pay for what that ancestor did. The presenter is asking, how can one free themselves from all these debts and punishments? And Baba is saying there's a story behind it. Truly, there are many forces that Olodumare assigned work to from Orun, but Orunmila is a very significant Irumole among all of them, very important. It is because people no longer study Ifa that they don't understand it. Just like Baba Elebubon said, Ayamo can in fact be changed. Ayamo and all that. But every other thing, 90% of the entire collection also shows that in fact Ayamo can be changed, even the ones whose situations were really worse.
Nígbà tí Olódùmarè dá Ọ̀rúnmìlà wá sílé ayé, ó kó lé ayé ìlé lọ́pẹ́ gbóhùn tó bá ti dé kọ́ máa ṣe ni. Èèyàn mẹ́wàá lè wó lóde ilé Ọ̀rúnmìlà, èèyàn mẹ́jọ ó lóyún, yóò sì ta méjì kò ní lóyún.
Okay, so when Orunmila incarnated, Olodumare did not just breathe life into their human incarnation, the one that they chose, but also give them even assignments like, okay, do this, you've chosen this, oh cool. When Orunmila was birthed and became a babalawo and all that, it wasn't everything he was able to do, despite the fact that Olodumare had given his blessings. A couple of people may come to his house to get help with getting pregnant, and only 3 or 5 will get pregnant or something like that. 16 people may be sick, only 11 people will be well, and they were referring to Orunmila as Baba Asheko. Ashekomaku is the one who does everything with no remainder, like the one who does things to perfection, like every case is solved, like a 100% performer. That name wasn't corresponding with what was actually happening to him, because not every single person that came to him was getting healing, and not every single person that was sick got healing, and not every single person that wanted a baby got pregnant, and not every single person that did not want their child to die was able to sustain their children's lives. Like, it just found that my reality is not really the same as what people are calling me. Orunmila was kind of unhappy about that, maybe even embarrassed by that. Like, you're calling me the one who does everything to perfection, who can handle every case, but not every case I handle is successful.
So
Orunmila decided that he was going to go back to Olodumare, who had blessed him, and question that, like, why am I not able to handle every single case? The term that I would use to describe that now would be something like astral travel. Not that Orunmila died and then was rebirthed again as a new baby or something, because you might be thinking, how were they able to contact Olodumare? Before you enter the Orun that Olodumare is in, there's a man at the border that is called Sese Ndiwo. There's a force, I'm using human terms. There's a force there that is called Sese Ndiwo. That is the one who manages the border. So Sese Ndiwo now asked Orunmila, Baba Keyo, where are you going to and what have you come to do here? Orunmila said, I'm going to Olodumare. I have some things to discuss with Olodumare. Orunmila explained what he wanted to speak to Olodumare about, and Sese Ndiwo was like, oh, if you go to Olodumare, Olodumare will still tell you to come back to me. That Orun has a glassy structure, so there's a place that you can stay that you can see what goes on, but those people will not see you. Sese Ndiwo put Orunmila in a strategic spot where he would see kind of what goes on when people are on the path to incarnation, so that they can understand why they are not able to resolve every single problem or issue that is presented before them. So Orunmila stayed there and was able to see what was going on, but those ones that were incarnating or reincarnating couldn't see him. That border is the non-physical, physical border. That's the border between both realms. So that is where souls would have to pass if they want to incarnate or reincarnate. And so the people started coming. The ones who were to reincarnate started passing. One person passed, said they want long life, they want children, they want a husband. Sese Ndiwo put Ashe, established that for them. It was then singing so that Orunmila would hear. This is what happens when people want to incarnate. Orunmila would have most likely passed through that way as well before they incarnated. But this is kind of like an astral travel situation to refresh your memory on how things actually work pre-incarnation or reincarnation. So Sese Ndiworo was singing to Orunmila, see, this is how they talk before they incarnate. You that you are hidden, you that you are in the place where these people can't see you, listen. As somebody else passed and said, I'm not going to stay long. Let me pass away right before my naming ceremony. Maybe 6 days on earth. Let me come back. I'm not going to stay long. Sese Ndiworo was singing to Orunmila, you see, you listen to what people say before they incarnate. So somebody else came past and said, the day that I'm to be married is the day that I want to return. Sese Ndiworo started singing again. This is how they say before they incarnate. Listen. Somebody else came and said, I want whoever is to birth me to have to birth me 6 times. That's the abiku. I want to be birthed 6 times. I've heard that there's one person who is currently incarnated where I'm to go, called Orunmila, who seems to be good. Baba's already addressed how Orunmila got the power to adjust poor ayomos and all that. I've heard that there's one Orunmila. I don't want him to have the ability to change my decision to fix anything for me, for my parents. Orunmila was like, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. Like, really? These firm decisions that people make just right before they cross over into the physical realm. So this is what happens. This is why certain things don't work. So this final decrees, so to say, are the cause. So Orunmila told Sese Ndiworo, I really have to go to Olodumare now that I've seen all these things. And this was the day that Olodumare made Orunmila Eleri Ipin, just because he was able to witness what people claim to be their own share. Like, oh, this is what I want to happen to me. Because he had witnessed that, that was the day Olodumare made Orunmila Eleri Ipin. Today, I'm going to give you the ability to fix things perfectly. Olodumare advised Orunmila that for every child who is born, for every soul that has incarnated, you have to do their entire. You have to ask about these things beforehand, before they get out of hand. Maybe 7 days after their birth, or as close to that period as you can, so that you can learn about the things that you shouldn't do or their parents shouldn't do, so that they can live longer. For some people, what they've said is, I want to drown at 1-2 years old, let's say. During the Asentaye, Orunmila will be able to detect and then warn the parents that if you want this child to live to 3, don't take them until they are like 3-4. Don't take them near any body of water, and don't let them go themselves. You have to monitor that they don't go where any, not even just large body of water. You'd be surprised that a baby can drown in a bucket filled with water. You kind of have to monitor them around water. That was the day Olodumare gave those instructions. Like, you have to ask soon after they are born, so that you know all the do's and don'ts, you know, so that all these things that they've said, oh, I don't want this, I want to just bring trouble and sadness and frustration to whatever lineage that I'm born into, or to whatever parents that I'm born into. When you ask, you will be able to adjust that so that they can have a better life. For some people, they've told their egbe that I'm not going to stay long there. I just want to briefly know what the human life feels like. Come and pick me. Soon after, Orunmila will be able, and the Babalawo will be able to detect and say, oh, okay, this is what you should do, so that their egbe will be able to come and they will be forced to stay. Again, as powerful forces exist in Orun, they exist in Aye as well. That's like level 2 to this incarnation reincarnation process. Is when you get here, there are powerful forces here as well, not just in Orun but in Aye as well, that can change whatever you've chosen, that can modify whatever you want, whatever you've decreed or declared. The purpose of Accessorizing of his entire is that you can sort of know the do's and don'ts that would even prevent issues, so that it's not when, let's say in the case of a child that has decided that they will drown at 3, it's not when they now drown that you start bringing the lifeless body to a Babalawo, to Orunmila back in the day. You say, oh, Orunmila, do the... There are forces in Aye as well that are powerful enough. From a good head, a good ayomo, they can make it a bad ayomo. Yes, we have our own personal ashe, and we have this and we have that, but there are degrees to the level of power that we have as individual forces in human bodies. So when you're human, it kind of gets dumbed down a little bit. That's the sacrifice that you have to pay for a human incarnation. So when you get here, of course, it really depends on your ori too. You might still be able to retain a lot of power, but for some people, you know, you are weaker. But that is why you can then seek the assistance of your egbe irumale to assist you in strengthening you, so that you and your mom won't be tampered with. And if it is tampered with, so that that can be resolved. So I'm going to stop it there because it's a rather long video, but a lot of really interesting things were said, and the more you go, the deeper it gets, especially people who are already fluent in Yoruba to some degree, or at least can understand the central words. I encourage you to watch the rest, even if you don't understand everything. The key words you would understand. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, of course. The more you dig into the Odrifa, the more you hear, because these things were passed on orally. And if you have books, like I have 2 big books here, the more you see stories regarding, like, oh wow, even the books don't do justice. It's the oral recitations that are the most detailed. People just take excerpts and put them in books, and it's not the full thing. I have 2 major, I have this that I sell on Etsy. I have this, you know, it's not really complete in the sense that they don't include every single thing. They just include the gist of it. But when you listen to the recitations, you have like really good insight into many things. So the more you search, the deeper it gets. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now. Oh yes, thank you to my patrons and my YouTube members. I always forget to thank you. Thank you so much. Your support means a lot to me. And I'll see you in the next video.